Welcome to Tell Me Everything. I'm Marissa, your host, and I'm a self-proclaimed thinkaholic. I've always been the person who asks one more question, stays curious, and loves getting beneath the surface. I'm constantly wondering how people think, why we do what we do, and what we can learn from one another. And that curiosity is what inspired me to create this podcast. I wanted to build a space where we can have real conversations, hear different perspectives, and continue learning and growing together. I truly believe connection is one of the greatest forms of medicine. It reminds us that we are not alone, it helps us better understand ourselves and each other, and it creates space for growth. Here on Tell Me Everything, we talk about wellness, personal growth, mindset shifts, relationships, and experiences that shape who we are. I am so happy that you are here, and thank you so much for being a part of this community.
Today's show is brought to you by the school bus. Why? Because it smells bad, it's dry, and it's very, very wet. School buses, stuff like that.
Okay, I'm ready. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Tell Me Everything. This week I have Coach Abby back on the podcast, and we are going to unpack a lot. I think we're going to do a 2-episode podcast just because I know when Coach Abby and I talk, we could talk for a long time. But we have kind of shared brains and we made an outline. There's just like a lot of things I want to talk to Coach Abby about like education and where things are going and some political things. And not that I want to make this a political podcast, but I think there's some good stuff to like unpack, as a group. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. Thank you, Coach Abby, for being on.
Hey, everybody. How y'all doing? Good? It's good to be back. I've been excited to be back. Try to do my own thing, and I'm getting it off the ground, but I always love to come back and talk to Marissa, so it's good to see you.
Yeah. So we have a lot of things to talk about, and one of those things are, since we're opening or we're really closing out the school year, Coach Abby got a new job. He used to work with me at the high school I work at. That's how we know each other. And then he moved on and he works at it's a charter school, right? But
Correct.
It's online.
Correct.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the differences of school modalities and the school choices, what we're calling it, and just talk about where education is going as a whole or how we see things now. And I think it's perfect timing since we're wrapping up a school year. School's about to close. We're coming into summer. So this is just good talk. So, Coach Abby, how was your school year?
It's always a loaded question, I think, anytime an educator asks how the school year is, especially in the middle of May. Because in the middle of May, we're sort of pulling ourselves out of the trenches. We've already been sort of in there the whole entire time. It's kind of the goofy season the last couple of weeks of May. And those people that in places like, a couple of southern counties that are in school for a week after that. It's the silly season. Most of our testing is done. We spend the whole year teaching to many different tests on many different levels. And then once that's over, and it's kind of the time to sort of decompress. I did move online. My first year in charter and remote education. Well, I shouldn't say first year. Everybody had 3 or 4 months of it during COVID. Even people up in the Northeast probably had up to a year of it almost. There's still some schools that do virtual learning up there during snowstorms. So that didn't end in other parts of the country for certain reasons. But here, in terms of a full-time remote teacher, finished my first year doing it. I will tell you that I've learned a lot about charter. I've always been someone who liked the idea of charter. I believe competition is one of the best things we can do for anything in this world. And so I was excited to have an opportunity to look into it and check it out. And I have some observations I've made throughout the year. I'm lucky in the fact that we are in a very choice-friendly state in Florida. There's no surprise that our governor is a very large proponent of giving parents the choice for all different types of education, private, charter, mini school, homeschooling. There's actually a bunch of incentives for parents to homeschool.
Right.
So even down to parochial opportunities, and even expanding a lot of learning environment into the remote space too. So it's been a year where we've seen a lot of the effects of that. We've seen school districts start to plan to close 5,
know,
10,
that's crazy.
12 schools in some places.
For brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
or
crazy.
giving those structures to charter
Mm-hmm.
opportunities, passing them on from the traditional public situation to private enterprise, which, to be honest with you, is a major taboo for a lot of traditional education and educators. But one of the things that I wanted to chat about today from that experience, especially from someone like you who's been in the public realm at different areas, getting a chance to experience different areas like I did now, both in public and now in this situation, is really, is that the best thing for our kids' choice?
Yeah.
Like, it's choice giving our obviously gives parents more opportunities. And I know that in places like Florida and a lot of more of your, I know we don't want to be political, but let's be honest, more of our right-leaning areas in the country, they believe in giving families more choice. And we both grew up in the Northeast.
Yeah.
And we know that that's not really how we learned school should operate. So it's interesting to be a student of schools in places like, you know, the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, and then work in schools down here, which seem to operate with educators who have those same concepts and values, but policymakers that don't. And so, you know, you look at a place like Broward County. You know, Broward is looking to close, I think it was 6 elementary schools, a couple middle schools. And you got to remember, you know, for people that don't listen, a typical elementary school is between 300 to 500 kids. Maybe sometimes as many as 600, depending on where it is. And then middle schools can range from about maybe 800 to 12, 1,300, if not more. So you're talking about 4,000 middle school kids and about 2,100 elementary school kids now going to be taught somewhere that is not a district school.
Right.
And or overcrowding other district schools. But they don't have a choice because they don't have the money. They don't have the money to be able to, you know,
go to a private school or like what?
No, they don't. I mean, the district itself, the school district itself, they don't have the funding because kids are leaving the schools.
I know.
And then when you close the schools,
you lose jobs.
And then you not only do you lose the jobs that you already cut, the happiness level, like someone like you with your student load. If you worked at elementary school and you were used to about, let's say, 200 kids, that's you're used to that, right? And all of a sudden they close the 2 elementary schools up the street. Now you're looking at possibly tripling the enrollment at your school. They're going to have to come to you. So what does that do to your workload?
Yeah, intensifies it. Yeah.
So you do really good work. I always loved being around you at work because I was always impressed with how you treat the kids.
Thank you.
I mean that. I've always said that I've never, and that's really true for pretty much every guidance counselor I've worked for. To be a guidance counselor, I think you have to have a certain heart and patience because you're literally guiding the child. You're not in a classroom environment, and you see them in a very closed environment in an office. And that can sometimes be an obstacle to get to know someone because a lot of times when kids sit in an office, they think it's bad.
That's true.
And the warm energy from your office was always something that I like to hang out in. So
thank you.
And by the way, the new dig since the last time I was here, she's shaming me because if anybody sees this from my feed, you're still going to get me sitting in an office chair with basically a white wall behind me. It ain't going to change. Listen,
I'm shaming you because it's purple?
No, I love it. I love it. I'm saying if it was my situation, it would be drab. I'm not necessarily the most creative person. I might be a little woo, but I'm not necessarily totally that creative. But your situation would change, right?
Yeah.
You would be overworked.
Yes.
And your level of happiness is gone then. So if you were somebody who did the job because you loved the kids, and that's what I loved about the entire group of young women, all you were together. Because every single one of you, I could see you loved your kids. Despite all the nonsense, you know, about what these teachers have to say about these kids or these parents, whatever the case might be. The way you treat your kids is the way that we should treat kids. I had a guidance counselor when I was in high school, Debbie Fink, that did not treat me that way. She's long gone. I wanted to go back and show her that I got a master's, and I found out she had passed away. She didn't quite believe in me as a student. I wouldn't have believed in me either. I was a little reckless. But my point is that all of a sudden that that care, that fire, that inspiration that caused you to want to do it, it has to eventually die out. It has to eventually get broken down. And so what happens is some people who are young, you're younger than me, who let's just pretend that, you are a mid to late 20s professional, male or female, whatever level of school you're teaching, whatever job you have, or if you're guidance or admin or whatever. And all of a sudden you start to see your love of the job go away.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden you're going to start to look for something else to do.
Yeah.
And so somebody who might have made a 25 to 35 year career out of changing people's lives is cut short.
Yeah.
Because you have been overworked. You have been. Now, a lot of times people would say, well, pay the teachers more. Or pay the people more.
Get into this.
But there's not the money. That again, that's what people don't. There's not the money. So I have seen choice. I just got to take 1 second though. Not only do they not have the money, but there is that you thin out the strong resources you could have for groups that need the help the most. Your kids with 504 plans, your kids with IEPs, your kids with English language learning programs, your kids that are hospital homebound, your kids that you're not necessarily your IND units because they're always going to have a certain body to body ratio, but the people you get as parents for those groups, the people you get as teachers for those groups.
Yeah.
They're changing diapers of 19-year-old men and women. You have to have certain people that want to do that.
Yeah.
Well, what happens when you start to overpopulate that situation, you take away the joy, you thin the population out, and all of a sudden there's people that could have really been a part of these cultures. They leave.
I know.
And they go to find other things to do. And it doesn't mean in education. I was never going to leave education. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I love working with people. I told you before we started taping, and the reason I do what I do is not, I have no plans to make this commercial. It's about being therapeutic for myself and feel like I'm doing a good service for others. And your workload would drive you to the point where you'd start to think to yourself, do I want to keep doing this? And you have to make some hard decisions about your life. And again, it's different in this phase of life that you're in. I have a wife. I have a son who's about to start middle school. We have an established family income. We have an established family tradition, family whatever else. So like my decision is easier on me to stay because I developed a career.
Right.
But someone who's 5, 6, 7 years into it, who's a single person, who's in the middle of the early parts of their life, or they're still sort of growing roots and everything, it chases you away.
Yeah.
How much do you know about charter? What do you know about charter education?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know that much. I know that it's partially funded, but the same way as a public school.
Okay.
That much I know. So I know that they have to follow the same mandates we have to follow, same standards for testing and all that data. I don't actually, I also know that they get to select their kids and then they can kick a child out if they weren't if they were misbehaving or weren't following school policy. So they're treated differently in that umbrella. But I don't know, as a parent, choosing a charter, I don't know why a parent would choose a charter versus sending them to their local public school. So maybe you could tell me that.
Do you know what defines charter?
Oh, that's good. No, I don't even want to take a stab at it.
So a charter school is a school that is run by privatized enterprise.
Okay. Meaning
that they are companies that are allowed to operate public school facilities to teach students the same curriculum and earn the same rights and privileges of a diploma that a traditional K-12 public school opportunity would. Do you mind if I put this down here?
Throw it wherever you need to be. Yeah.
Sorry. By the way, I'm serious. I love the purple theme. I love the purple theme and I love the hat. I'm going to wear my hat, I think, for a lot of my episodes now to cross promote because I think this hat's pretty fly.
It's so cool, awesome. Right? Yes. I'm proud of myself.
I love the two-tone bill.
I love
That's
it.
So sharp.
Thank you.
See, and I have no attention span. So if she has any new viewers from last year, you'll see that I was able to pay more attention. I literally have the brain of a crackhead. It bounces all over the place. There's not enough good or bad or chill narcotics to cause me to stop either. And trust me, I've tried plenty. But I digress back to the point I was making about, what was I talking about?
Oh,
Remy?
gosh. No, you were educating us about what a charter school
okay.
is.
So private entity, that means that private entity owns that school, and it means they're allowed to draw a profit.
Okay.
That's the big difference.
Okay.
Is that public education is not for profit.
Right.
It's funded by the government, and the expectation is those funds are then spent on students directly. And they're spent on specific functions. So, for instance, when a school gets money to pay their teachers, the money comes from the state. But how the teachers are paid comes from the school district. So if anybody remembers middle school civics, there are something called mandates. The government hands down a mandate, which is basically an instruction to a local or county or state agency on how to operate. So the state will say that each student is worth X amount of dollars per school. And then that amount of money goes to that school based off of how many students they have at two specific parts of the calendar year, October and February. That money then must be spent on those students. Whatever money is not spent on those students goes back to the government.
Right.
In charter education, it's the same thing. The charter school, generally the same thing. Look, I'm not about to get into the X's and O's. There's, by the way, that's what we call working into the name, by the way, X's and O's. That's the name of my podcast. No, but I'm not going to get into the actual breakdown of the legal structure of a charter school and all that. But the general idea is that the money that's left over after the school year goes to the company that operates the school. So that is our profit. That does not go back to the government coffers. That's the big difference. So we're making a profit on students' education. We're not being paid if they do good or bad. None of that. Don't get me wrong. Just like in public education, there's bonus structures. If you have enough kids pass advanced testing, that stuff exists for us too. There is tutoring money that comes to our schools. We have SACs just like regular schools do. We operate the same way. The biggest difference between how you see a school operate in the charter realm and the non-charter realm is in the non-charter realm, human resources, operations, physical plant, all the things that involve the logistics of what your school needs to operate come from the district. Payroll, policing, all those things come from the district. At a charter school, we have all of that. So we have human resources people. We have operations people. I work for a remote charter, so we don't have necessarily a physical plant, but we have IT. We have our own IT people. So it's a little bit different. Like in a school, you got to worry about electric and gas and all that stuff. For us, we got to worry about our server's going to disconnect. I mean, recently, the thing with Canvas, our school uses Canvas. We were one of the schools along with the 250 million children around the world that all of a sudden had their data possibly taken. Now, lucky for us, we have really good IT people. We were started by someone in the IT sector. So we have very strong information technology protections. None of our data got out. But luckily, it sounded like Instructure, the company that makes Canvas, got the whole thing straightened out. Before anything went that bad. So that's the biggest difference in terms of how it's run, the money side of things. I'm happy you brought up the kicking kids out because it's an important thing to understand. Choice is there as an option for parents.
Okay.
That's what choice means. It means option. Option means choice. I'm going to say that one more time. Choice is an option, and an option is a choice. When you're districted for a school, you're there. Unless you do something like bring a weapon onto campus, cause several different fights, assault physically to a teacher, you do anything that would be considered even close to a crime, we might be able to send you to an alternative school. Maybe.
Oh, you wouldn't send them to their home school?
Well, I'm saying at a traditional brick and mortar public school.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's what the experience is for most people.
Okay.
But you can't really get rid of the kid unless they do something really terrible. And let me make this very clear. No administrator is ever going to say, I want to get rid of that kid until it's an issue that affects the safety and the well-being of other children on campus. People and parents sometimes forget this. This is why my wife and I took my son and put him in homeschooling. That the school has to worry about all the kids, not one the kid. Okay? And so for us, getting him in homeschooling where he could learn on his own and we could focus on him gave us a better opportunity to educate him. But in some cases, sometimes parents forget that. So they say, well, it's all the children. But it's very hard to remove a child in a districted school, especially when they get to high school, especially when there's a chance they can move towards your graduation rate. You want to make sure you're doing everything you can before that happens, because you want that kid to graduate at your school. You want that 1 out of 1 for that kid. But the problem is when a kid gets unruly to the point where they're not learning what they need to learn, and the ability to motivate the child has been spent, has been exhausted. What do you do?
Yeah.
And by the way, I just want to, just for sakes, I don't want you thinking that I'm looking off to the side. My wife is hanging out behind us. Say hi.
Hi.
There you go. So I keep looking at her because she's in the room. I know the camera's right there. Okay. So I don't want anybody to say, oh, your guy has like a lazy eye. Like he wanders. Like, what's going on? I don't know. What is he looking at? I want to see. No, trust me. There's nothing to see. My wife is literally chilling up behind the camera. But at our school, or at a charter school in general, if a child is causing a problem for the other students, goodbye. Goodbye. We'll put you on an academic contract. We'll put you on a discipline contract. You got 2 weeks. You don't shape up. You're gone. Why is that important? Well, number one, first and foremost, it teaches the other parents and the other children we're not putting up with nonsense. All right? This is corporate America. This is not everybody feel good, everybody necessarily under the same evenly felt tent. That sometimes we get confused a lot. Everybody should be under the tent. Not everybody's always going to have the same feelings. It's not going to work out that way. All right? My type of woman is not necessarily some other guy's type of woman. That's true. It's true. Some guys like guys. That's awesome. I don't. We're all different. All right? But we have this opinion that we all need to be the same reality on the same tent. And it's just not there yet. We haven't moved that far. So we tell the other parents, we're going to put the kids' learning as what's first and foremost.
Okay.
And then we make it clear that not only we're worried about their behavior, we're worried about them taking their academics seriously. And so we worry about things like engagement. So like in a typical charter school, they might worry about homework completion.
Right.
They might worry about attendance numbers. They might worry about diagnostic scores outside state test windows. They might our school is remote. So we worry about camera time. We worry about what percentage of time were you in the activities we did in class. We have percentage markers that we can look at for a child to see how much did you chat during the class? How much did you take your microphone off to speak? We look at those kinds of things. We look at when you were in class, did you interact with people? When I called you out, did you respond? Did you show up to the tutoring sessions we gave you? We look at those things as pieces of the puzzle of, are you engaged? This is the first year our school really had put that focus on it. I'm not going to mention my school, but I would just say that it's one of the larger virtual schools in the state of Florida. My group alone doubled our proficiency scores in 1 year.
That's crazy.
Now it's not. I take a lot of credit for that. I'm one of the new teachers at that school. I was the only new teacher specifically this year at that school. My other teacher in the same subject that I teach, she was there last year, but she came over in March. So she was there a very short period of time. The two of us basically rebuilt the curriculum. But every piece of data at our school went up. Not as high as we did, but every piece of data went. Why? Because we started to enforce discipline. We started to enforce the things that you should be able to enforce in a school. And when kids started to see that their friends or their classmates were starting to dwindle, beginning of the year, I had 65 kids in my homeroom. I ended up this year with 23. Now, it's not that we kicked 40 of my kids out. We hired teachers. They thinned them out by giving them homeroom teachers.
Good.
So they thinned them out. But I probably had about 15 to 18 kids in my homeroom that were removed this year over the entirety of the year because of disengagement. So why is that important? Well, it's important because the second thing is not only are we making it important to the other families that stay, hopefully we're teaching that child a lesson. At least that's the way I take it. That like in the future, you have to be more engaged. Like, because those are lessons you try to tell your kids when you're trying to get them across the stage, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I can only imagine what those conversations are like with a senior who is not quite.
Like what? Sit down and stay focused?
Let's say I'd say it's October or November.
Yeah.
And you got a kid that you know is going to have to pass the PM for reading. And it's going to have to, or pass the PM for math, or both. And it's going to be in credit lab 2 periods a day, at least, in the spring to graduate, right? What do you tell that child?
But they gotta get to it.
But my point, Marissa, but my point is, you have to tell them something they're going to listen to.
Oh yeah,
you see what I'm saying? Like, legitimately, like what conversation? It's like and so if they've gone through a system where they just get kicked along the street up and up, they never learn that lesson that you have to do the right things. Mm-hmm. You know, I told my kids before a lot of them took the test, I said, you know, guys, a lot of you are going to put your best foot forward, and some of you are still going to get a 1 or 2. I teach civics, so I teach state tested civics material at the 8th grade level. I would tell them, I would say, guys, look, I said, here's the truth. There would be times that I would shave, I put on cologne, I would dress real nice as a 16-year-old boy, and I go up to a girl and I ask her out for a date or whatever else. Or I go I remember at junior prom, I went with a girl named Lindsay, and we danced a little bit, but it was his friends, and I wanted to dance with some other girls. So I looked my best.
Like a player.
And everything. Yeah, that's what I was trying to. I wanted to. I'm not a dirtball, but you know, I like girls. I still like girls. I'm like Brett Kavanaugh. You know, I like beer. I always like beer. Look, that's my thing. Look for that quote, by the way, in his hearings to become. It's very funny when they ask him about beer. He literally talks for about 5 minutes about how much he likes a glass of beer.
Glass of beer.
Yeah, that's what he talked about. But I would put on my best sometimes, and my wife's going to laugh at this. The girl that I would ask would say that she wasn't interested, and she'd laugh in my face. And sometimes a girl would be a lesbian.
Oh.
Multiple times a girl would be a lesbian.
You would be misreading the energy.
Misreading.
Oh.
I've developed much better gaydar as an adult than I had as a young person. The Subaru effect, I call it. You see a woman driving a Subaru, you kind of know what's going on. I'm kidding. It's a joke. It's a joke. You can laugh. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I have a freaking rainbow thing on my ankle. I'll pick up my foot and show you later. There's a rainbow thing on my ankle. All right? I love all people. But the overall point of this that I'm trying to make is that I think that sometimes that, you know, I think we sometimes take things too seriously too.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we get too caught up in our own nonsense. Mm-hmm. And I think if we all kind of took more of an approach of like just not indifference, but deference to others, you know what I mean? I think a lot of this will be better, especially when we talk about schools.
Yeah.
Like there's so much of teachers wanting to tell parents, well, you don't know what to do. And there's so many parents that want to tell teachers, well, you don't know what to do. These moms of liberty, which a lot of things they talk about, I believe in, but they go about it all the wrong way. Mm-hmm. You know, trying to get textbooks at schools that your child doesn't go to eliminated. Stop it. Mm-hmm. You're responsible for my wife and I have an 11-year-old. And I tell them all the time, my job is to get you until you're 18 and you're alive. If you're alive at 18, I did my job. Now, that does not mean I don't do more than that. But you know that my main function is to make sure that child has clothes on his back.
Of course.
Goes to school, learns, gets a meal 3 times a day.
No snacks?
Well, obviously. Gets spoiled occasionally with a toy. He's a single child, the only child, so you know that we definitely spoil him a little bit.
Yeah.
But like, we want to make sure that he grows up in a safe, happy, open environment. And I'm going to tell you the truth. One of the things that I and this is having an open conversation about this stuff. The public realm is great for kids that have ESE issues.
Yeah.
It's great for kids that have ELL issues because in those situations, you can sometimes get, especially when you're younger, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, when you can get those fundamental, you know, assists. But when you get to the 4th, 5th grade and older level, the kids I deal with, middle school, sometimes those kids, they can't function in a regular school. You know, they cut themselves. They are bulimic. They're anorexic. They have seizures. Some of them are professional athletes. I taught a kid who's a 13-year-old professional tennis player this year.
Yeah. Who
literally travels around the country and is paid to play tennis at 13.
Right. But I do see that more and more, even in the public sector, that kids are involved in other things, and or families they have a mom and dad that travel for business. So like a more structured, I want to call it structured, but it sounds non-structured though when you think about it. But that's why online programs are kind of working for parents that are on the go and they're not home. And I kind of grew up in an environment where like parents were home. So like they didn't travel for work and things like that. So I never, like a child that was homeschool back in my day, they were like kind of like a bad kid, kind of fell off a beaten path.
Yeah.
But now it's not treated like that at all. Now it's almost like, I don't know, like it's incentivized, kind of like what you were saying.
Well, there's a couple things. Number one, the state of Florida incentivizes.
Yes. Yeah.
Parents that homeschool their child, I think it's like $8 or $9, $10,000 a year to do it. So that's A. Now, we don't claim that.
Mm-hmm.
My son is actually enrolled in a school. I teach at a school. It's a remote school. If you're familiar with Florida Virtual, it's like Florida Virtual.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between our school is that we do live instruction.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually on camera live 4 times a week with kids, 3 times in live instruction and a 4th time in a weekly review period. So we do live instruction. Kids have between 6 to 8 classes a day, middle and high school, and are on camera for about 4.5 to 5 hours a day. Elementary, they can be on camera for as many as 8.5 hours a day.
Yeah.
But it's usually about 5 spread out over those 8.5 hours. So we do live instruction. But to sort of beat back on what you were talking about, not only for the families that travel, but for the families that have a single mother or a single father or a single grandmother with 2 or 3 generations of kids in the same house, where the older of the teens or the older of the preteens has to take care of the couple younger children in the house. And, I kind of talk, a little bit about, the idea of, some of the more bright spots where you're talking about students that are achieving things outside, which forces them to have to move around. But for those that are impoverished, you can save a parent or a family a lot of logistical nightmares to get a kid to and from school. We grew up in Baltimore, and in Baltimore for a while, we didn't have school buses.
Yeah.
In Baltimore, people took the MTA buses to school. Well, if you know anything about the MTA, just watch the show The Wire. If you don't know what Baltimore is really like, watch the show The Wire. 3/4 of Baltimore is a inner city ratchet nightmare.
Oh, wow.
There's some of it that's not bad. I lived for a while in an area called Mount Washington. Mount Washington was a very nice part of Baltimore. Roland Park is a very nice, where Johns Hopkins University is a really nice part of Baltimore. Johns Hopkins Hospital is in the middle of a nightmare. And then the Inner Harbor. And then really where you get right at the center of the city where the stadiums are, a couple of the young bar neighborhoods are. Other than that, it's an urban nightmare. And drugs are sold on those buses. People are robbed on those buses. Or they take the subway where people are shot in the subway tunnels. So the point that I'm trying to make is that you allow parents the opportunity to have choice. You might be keeping some kids off the street, which in many cases might be saving them. Think about you're an 11, 12-year-old boy. I'm not even going to use race. I don't even worry about the race of the child. But you grow up in a poor area and you walk to school every day, right? And I'll go specifically to a spot that people don't think a lot of. I'm going to talk about somewhere, let's say in rural Alabama. Okay. And you're going to walk to school and you pass by the same gas station every day on the way to your school. And you notice that you got some Klansmen to hang out outside that gas station, right? After a while, 11, 12-year-old boy is going to walk by 5 or 6 men and they're going to look up to him a little bit and they're going to develop a relationship. And all of a sudden, you've pulled that kid into starting to believe some of the stuff that these Klansmen believe. And all of a sudden, you've raised another generation of racist of America. Now, I'm going to use the same example, but I'm going to use an urban situation. Let's say a kid grows up in Northeast Baltimore or East Baltimore. Well, my wife knows how bad East Baltimore is. You go have a kid grow up in East Baltimore, and he's walking to school, or I'll give it even better. I'll say he's walking to Patterson Park High School, all right? Or he's walking to Dunbar. He's walking to Dunbar, right? And he's a young 11, 12-year-old boy. Same situation. And his mom or grandma's been able to keep him off the street. And now he's walking to school because he's old enough now, and his mom has got a couple jobs. Now all of a sudden he's about to pass kids that are involved in gangs and involved in drugs. And all of a sudden, over time, he starts to be pulled into it. And all of a sudden now we've lost a generation of a young man or a young woman into that kind of shit. Hope it's okay that I said shit, but into that kind of, I'm serious about that. So this keeps those kids off the street. It gives the kids a chance to go to school and not have to get caught up in that riffraff. I hate to make, listen, it's a beautiful studio. I think it's the perfect example of Palm Beach County, of what people think of Palm Beach County before they come to, they think of Boca Raton, and they think of, the PGA Tour in Jupiter, and they think of, the Intercoastal and they think of that stuff, right? They don't think of Lake Worth and Forest Hill, and they don't think of, think of Pompey Park in Delray, right? They don't think of that stuff, but it's a reality. It's a reality that it exists. Mm-hmm. And the further south you go down, people don't think of Hialeah, or people don't think of North Miami or Miami Gardens. They think of South Beach. You see what I'm saying? They're not thinking of Lauderhill Lakes or any of that. They're thinking of Fort Lauderdale. Yeah. Like, they're not thinking of the rougher areas that are down. And then you imagine how much of the state is so impoverished. Mm-hmm. It's not just down here. It's all over the place. Everybody, people that are NFL fans who know football at all, they know the chant Duval for the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? Yeah. Duval County is probably the most polarized county in this state, where you have incredibly wealthy people that live to the west and north of Jacksonville. And I've stopped at some of the gas stations to the south of Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. I've ran to the bathroom and ran back to the car. I did not think I was going to make it back to the car. And some of the places in inner city Jacksonville, it is. But my point is that it flips quick. And then as soon as you pass the city, you're in the Gulf capital of Florida, which is Ponte Vedra Beach. You're in St. Augustine, which obviously is, again, a very ritzy to do travel. So that this kind of environment gives kids a chance to have education a different way. Mm-hmm. So to understand but I think what really hurts, and this goes back to something that happened in our county a couple weeks ago, is the sympathetic tone that teachers carry in culture. Mm-hmm. Where people go, oh, you don't get paid enough. Oh, you work so many hours. Oh, look, right here. Okay? Right here. I'm not going to pull the veil off and say some people don't work a lot of hours. They do. Mm-hmm. And some people bust their ass to get really good at this job. So this is not a shot at anybody who puts in the extra work. But I have worked corporate America. I have worked to where I literally was doing everything short, but offering my mouth and body to supervisors to get promoted. I'm serious about that. Mm-hmm. Where I had 2 weeks of paid vacation a year, where I'd be outside working with customers in shirt, tie, and jacket in 95-degree plus weather. Or literally fumbling over myself on marketing calls below 20. Mm-hmm. Okay? The point is that teachers have it pretty damn good. All right? Number one, first and foremost, I mentioned the time off. 2 weeks a year for most people in corporate America. And that also includes sick time.
Yeah.
So if I get the flu, I can kiss my trip back to see my family. Okay? So that's first and foremost. Half of January, and so I'll say a week in December, a week in January, a week in March, and a week in November. That's 1 month. June and July. That's 3 whole months right there. That's 12 weeks. Plus, if you take the rest of the cockamamie government holidays we get off, which is a lot, not counting all the holidays that they give us to make the Jews and the Christians happy. By the way, one day we're going to start giving Ramadan off. I promise.
You think?
Oh, there's no doubt. As these populations grow, more and more people are going to demand it. I mean, the fact that we gave President's Day back some years was a shock. Yeah, the fact that we're not closed on Election Day, to me, is still a complete shock. And I think that is coming. I honestly believe that. I think if it looks like the election is close at the end of this year, I could see some kind of executive declaration by the governor to close for Election Day to provide for more.
So that's a state thing?
That's a state thing, yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Well, it's the state gives the counties the ability to choose their own schedules. Most counties will choose to have that day off. Okay. Some of them might choose to teach it as a PDD.
Yeah.
But they'll usually give the students it off because it sends the right message that it's President's Day. But my point I'm trying to get to is that the teachers in my realm, we're on our own.
Yeah.
We have no one fighting for us. We don't have a union. Mm-hmm. We don't have a backing behind us that's there to make sure that we get Like we get we don't have to argue anything for ourselves. In fact, I literally put here for charter, no collective bargaining. I bargain my own contract.
So wait, okay. So each teacher at a charter school can negotiate their own salary
They can try to.
the hiring team
Doesn't
is?
mean the company's going to listen, but you can make an attempt to do it.
Right. So whereas public school, you're on that teacher contract, so everybody's making the same money, unless based off of your years. But yeah.
And look, I'm not calling out some people, but I've worked with some pretty great teachers that have been inspirations to me at all different schools I've worked at. And I've worked with some pretty shitty human beings that were terrible to their kids, that couldn't move ice in a glass of water. So my point is that we were all paid the same. And that is the biggest load of crock that I have ever experienced. And that's why you have some of these people that are legitimately warm bodies in rooms. And it disgusts me. It's one of the most disgusting things. And I will tell you, the effort that I have seen across the board by charter educators, in my experience this year, and my wife has worked in charter for 5 years, outdoes the efforts that I've seen many people in the public realm do.
Oh, okay.
And a big reason is a lot of times that it's up to them to find their own resources.
Because of what?
It's up to them to find their own resources.
Oh.
It's up to them to write their own curriculum. They have to put in a lot more work to do it.
Okay.
And they get paid a little less. I took a pay cut to become a charter educator.
Okay, so teachers get paid less historically?
Depending upon where you're coming from on the ladder. Mm-hmm. So if I was a new teacher in Palm Beach County, it would have been a pay raise. Okay. I had been under contract for 10 years. And I also was getting referendum money.
Oh, yeah, referendum
so I lost
money
that too.
Helps, yeah.
I lost that too. My district is Hendry County. Mm-hmm. They don't have referendum pay. So even though we have statewide students, we have to have a sponsor district, and our sponsor district is Hendry. So Hendry, they don't have referendum pay in Hendry. They don't, and our secondary sponsor is Dixie. They only do middle, and we don't have referendum pay there. But I took a pay cut. Because I'm a principled person. I think it's clear I don't shut up.
Yeah.
I feel bad for you that you chose to have me on here.
I'm trying to interject, but I'm waiting my...
Well, you can tell me when you want to. I tend to dominate conversation too much. I'm a one-way train. But I want to know, now that I've kind of shared some things, what's like your first reaction to where you start learning more about what... And again, this is not charter versus public. This is not that. I said earlier, if you're ELL or ESC or anybody with special programs needs, the charter realm is probably not for you.
Okay, fair.
It's not. The resources aren't there for it. They're just not. But if you're a kid with a mental health issue, if you're a kid who is an introvert, if you're a kid who is someone who has to be transient, as you were talking about, for good, bad, or indifferent reasons, if you have a family situation that forces you to miss a lot of in-person school, the misnomer that this is a scam has to be removed. Like, we have to make it clear that it's not a scam. It just is a different way of looking at things. So that's what I was going to say for you. I mean, what thoughts do you have as you learn more about this specific kind of thing?
I mean, I like learning about the different options for educators. I used to be, maybe before COVID, I used to hear families say, like, I'm going to homeschool my kids. I don't trust public school education and what's going on. And I kind of didn't agree with them. I was like, there's something, like, put your kid in public school. This is what they need. This is what they need. And if they leave public school education, they're less competitive on those college entrance exams. Like, I really and truly believed it. I don't think that anymore. If I had kids right now, I would put them in the micro school, something a bit more tailored to who they are as individuals. And I mean, who knows? But I just see education at the public school spectrum just changing so much. And I've only been in it for 10 years. I know that sounds like a long time, but it's not a long time for that much change to have gone on in 10 years. That's what I meant. That's what I mean by that. Thanks so much for listening to Tell Me Everything. I hope today's episode gave you a fresh perspective, a little inspiration, or just something that made you pause and think. If you enjoyed it, make sure you are following the show so we can keep the conversation going. And Share it with anyone you think might love it too. I'm so glad you spent this time with me today. Until next time.